So we were discussing about PDs in the previous class, nature of PDs. Where did we stop? Does anybody remember? So we were discussing, let me just go through first what we were discussing, and then we will continue from there on. Okay, somewhere in between we stopped. So initially we had discussed that why PDs are important for our engineering applications. What we have seen is that there are many engineering applications for which second order PDs actually describe the scientific phenomena that is occurring. Okay, so many of the phenomena such as heat transfer, fluid flow, turbulence, then wave propagation, and many other phenomena can be represented accurately by second order partial differential equations. Okay, as a result, it is very important to know the nature of different types of second order PDs so that we can devise appropriate solution algorithms in CFD for solving different types of problems. Okay, that was our goal. And we had initially taken a general second order PD. General second order PD, for a general second order PD, we had considered a variable u, which is a function of x and y. Okay, because it's a function of x and y, it can have partial derivatives with respect to x or y or both. Okay, so there are three higher order, means second order terms in a second order general PD: a del square u del x square plus b del square u del x del y plus c del square u del y square. Okay, and rest of the terms are lower order terms. This we had seen, and we had classified this equation based on the coefficients of the highest order terms. Okay, so the three second order terms are there. Based on their coefficients, we have classified the PDs into three types. What are these three types? If the coefficients are such that b square minus 4ac is less than 0, then we call this PD as elliptic PD, and there is a particular type of behavior associated with this type of PD. Okay, and we can also call that there are no characteristic lines. We have not yet fully discussed what is characteristic line. We have seen with respect to parabolic equations, but let me again recap what is the characteristic line. So any PD, say for example the second order PD, have highest order derivatives. So in this case, the second order PDs, highest order derivatives are the second order derivatives. Okay. So in a domain, there may be regions like lines. There may be lines where these second order PDs are not, second order derivatives are not continuous. Or if we try to solve for these second orders derivatives, they they are they don't exist, or infinite number of solutions exist for them. Okay, so basically you can just consider that there are lines where the second order terms are not continuous. Okay, highest order terms, because this is a second order PD, highest order terms are second order terms. So these lines are known as characteristic lines, and physically they represent a jump in properties, or actually no jump in properties. This is not correct what I have said. There is a kind of imaginary boundary up to which information is propagated. So I will describe this in more detail with respect to hyperbolic equations. Then it will be clear. Okay, what it means to have characteristic lines. So before that, let us again just recap these three classifications: b square minus 4ac less than 0, elliptic type of PD, where the characteristic lines are imaginary lines, means there are no real characteristic lines. Okay, then b square minus 4ac, if it is equal to 0, then we call this PD as parabolic PD, and for this type of equation there is only one characteristic line. Okay, and if b square minus 4ac is greater than 0, we call this type of PD as hyperbolic PD, and there are two real and distinct characteristic lines. Okay, two separate characteristic lines are there. So we have defined characteristics of a second order PD: lines across which the highest order partial derivatives are not continuous. Okay. Did we go through this material? I guess we have gone through this, right? Does anybody remember? Have you studied this part? Laplace equation.
Yes.
We have gone through this material, right? I'm just revising. Okay. Let me check. Still, it is better to revise, but let me just confirm. Why is this so slow? Let it be. Just a second. I'm just checking where did we stop. Okay. We have gone through this material. Okay. So it's better to just have a quick revision. Okay, so then we have defined characteristics as lines across which the highest order PD partial derivatives, sorry, not PD, partial derivatives are not continuous. Solution is continuous. Okay, so there is sometimes misconception that solution is not continuous. Solution is continuous. This highest order derivatives are not continuous. And then we are going through a few case studies. We were going through a few case studies. We started with one case, which is a very common equation in engineering applications, which is known as Laplace equation. Del square phi or del square u equal to 0. Okay. In 2D, it is represented at u del square u del x square plus del square u del y square equal to 0. In short form, we can write this as uxx plus uyy equal to 0. Okay. And I had asked, and some of you had answered correctly, that the one example for this is 2D conduction problem, 2D heat conduction problem. Del square T del x square plus del square T del y square equal to 0. Okay. So we have seen that this is an elliptic type of PD based on B square minus 4AC. I'm not going into the details. You can read again because we have already discussed. And what we have seen in this case is that if we introduce a disturbance at any point in the domain here is with respect to x and y, right? Because the equation has x and y variables, independent variables, and dependent variable is temperature T. So if we introduce any disturbance or any source term anywhere in the domain, it is immediately felt everywhere else in the domain. Okay. So introducing any source term anywhere causes a change in the values everywhere in the domain instantaneously, because this is a steady state equation. Okay, so steady state solution, we know that if you change one of the boundary condition or some source term, the steady state solution will change. Okay, and then in that case, it is as if the disturbance is traveling in all directions at infinite speed. Okay, so this entire domain in this case is known as domain of influence. Okay, because P influences the entire domain. Okay, for an elliptic equation, the P influences, any disturbance influences the entire domain. This is known as domain of influence. Okay. And there is another concept called domain of dependence. Domain of dependence is the area or region on which the point itself depends. Okay, the value of the point itself depends. So, say we introduce another source at another point. Will that be felt at this point? So, in this case, if you introduce a source at any point, it will change the value at this point. Okay, so its domain of dependence also is the entire domain. So P influences the entire domain, and the entire domain also influences P, the value at P. Okay, so this is the particular character, this is the particular nature of elliptic PD. that the entire domain depends on any point, okay, the value at any point. And there are no characteristic lines, okay, there are no lines within the domain which separate any part of the domain, okay, the domain is the entire domain in fact. So for these cases, we have discussed that the solution algorithm should be such that if we are calculating for any point P, all its neighboring values should be able to influence the value at point P. Why? Because the information passes from all directions. Okay, so our algorithm should be such that all the neighboring values passes their information for the calculation of a certain point P. Okay, and this type of problems are also known as boundary value problems because we need to provide the boundary condition over the entire boundary. So this was the case 1, okay, elliptic type of equation. Any questions on elliptic equations? You should study this material after each class. Okay. Is everything clear about elliptic equations? So Fourier conduction
Yes,
is in
sir.
elliptic type of equation, Fourier heat conduction, okay, where immediate change occurs everywhere, means any change causes an immediate change at another place. Okay, so next type of equation that we had considered in the previous class was 1D unsteady diffusion equation. Okay, and 1D unsteady equation means 1D in space. Okay, but two independent variables are present because one variable was variable in space x and another variable is variable with respect to time t. Okay, and the dependent variable is temperature capital T. So this equation can be written as the del T equal to alpha del square T del x square, where alpha is the thermal diffusivity K by rho Cp. So for this case, again we found the nature of the PD. So if by taking this to one side, we found that V square minus 4AC is equal to 0, which is known as parabolic equation. We have discussed that this type of equation is known as parabolic equation. And what was the, so the thing is that we found that this is parabolic equation. But what is the physical significance of this finding? Like, it is good that somebody says that, okay, by doing some calculation, I am saying that this equation is parabolic. But what it means physically, means in real life, what does it mean? Parabolic equation. Okay, that needs to be clear to everyone. So what it means is that if there is a domain with respect to x and t, so in this case the two independent variables are x and time. Okay, so the domain can be represented in two-dimensional form with respect to x and t, where x varies from 0 to l and t varies from 0 to say some last time, t last. Okay, any line, any horizontal line within this domain represents what? Say this horizontal line through P. What does this represent? The temperature on this horizontal line will represent what? The line through point P. The temperature on this
Sir, it
horizontal.
represents
Yes.
the profile of the rod at time t.
It represents the temperature along the rod at any time t. Okay, wherever is the line. So at the initial condition when t equal to 0, this horizontal line is the bottom horizontal line. Okay, which is the axis. And the top line is the final temperature distribution. Okay. What does any vertical line represent? Say vertical line through P, what will it represent?
Sir, it represents the variation of temperature with respect to time at that particular point.
Correct, correct. Okay. So this is just I am asking you so that everybody else also understands, means have a very clear understanding of this. Okay. So now this domain represents the entire variation of temperature with respect to time and space. Okay. So what we had discussed was that if any source or disturbance is given at a particular point here, so this point P, physically what it means is that at this time, before this time there was no source term, at this particular time you have introduced a source term at a certain distance from 0. Okay, the distance is given by this point from the x from this point. Okay, so this at a certain point along the 1D domain we have introduced a source term at a certain time t. Okay, This is what it means to introduce a disturbance of source term, okay, or a perturbation, like some fluctuation in temperature or source we have introduced. So this point will change the behavior of the temperature only of the region above this horizontal line. Okay, the zone shown by the red dashed line, this region will be influenced by this variation that has occurred at P. Okay, if this variation had not occurred, this red region would have had some different temperature. Because this variation of temperature at P has occurred, we have introduced a source. This red region will have a different temperature distribution. Okay, so this region is known as domain of influence of P. Okay, and the line which separates this domain of influence from the entire domain is known as the characteristic line. Okay, this is the characteristic line physically. Okay, so as if the information only travels on one side of this line, information is not traveling on the other side of the line. So characteristic line physically you can consider as a line which is differentiating between the domain, between the region in the domain where the information is traveling from the other part where the information is not traveling. So it separates the region in two parts. One part the information is traveling, in the other part information is not traveling from the point P. Okay, this is the characteristic line. Now, how will the value of this point P change? If we change the value of anything in this red region, will the value of point P change? It will not change. We have discussed that, because something in future cannot change something in past. Okay, but anything in the past, so any point within this black region, black hashed region, if we introduce a disturbance, it is going to change the temperature along the entire rod in future. Okay, so this is going to change the temperature at point P. So if I introduce a source term at, say, in the black region, somewhere in the black region, okay, it is going to change the value at point P. So this black region below the line, horizontal line through P, is known as domain of dependence. So the value of P depends on this region. Okay, so the characteristic line here is, for this particular case, it is dividing the domain of influence and domain of dependence. It is not always the case, but in this case, it is dividing it like this. Okay, and we can see that there is
Sir,
one
what do you
real.
mean?
Yes, tell me.
Sir,
Can you repeat your question? I cannot hear you. Hello, am I audible?
sir, what do you mean? Sir, what do you mean by information is flowing and information is not flowing?
Okay, so I am using a colloquial term, information flowing. It means that, say, somewhere you have introduced say you have a rod, okay, or some bar, metal bar, okay, you have introduced the heat source, means like a heater at a point on the bar, at the center of the bar you have introduced a heater. So will this heater, because the heater is causing a heat source, it is going to influence the temperature in the metal bar, right? So will this heater cause a temperature change in the entire domain with respect to space and time, or only in some particular region with respect to space and time? That is the question that we are asking. So if you consider the bar, if you introduce a heater, what will happen to the entire length of the bar? The temperature will change, because in the physical domain means the entire bar temperature will get affected by the heater at the center, right? So along the x direction, the heater or any source term can influence the temperature. What about the time direction? Say I have introduced the heater at time t equal to 100 seconds. So from 0 to 100 seconds there was no heater. From 100 seconds to say 200 seconds there is a heater. So now the heater at 100 seconds can influence the temperature at 50 seconds. It cannot influence, right? But it can change the temperature at 150 seconds, or any time after 100 seconds the heater can change the temperature. Means if there is a heater, the temperature will be different at 150 seconds. If there was no heater, the temperature will be different. Okay, so by flow of information I mean that if there is a source term or perturbation or something has changed at some point in space and time, whether it is causing some change at some other point or not, whether that information that something has changed at this point is traveling, is influencing the other point or not, that is what I mean. Is it clear, or shall I repeat again?
Sir, it is clear.
Okay, I will explain in another way. Okay, I will explain in another way. Uh, uh, Let us for this moment just forget about this temperature problem. Okay, let us consider a long, very long pipe, very long pipe. Okay, very long pipe, say 100 kilometer long. Okay, and it contains some water inside the pipe, and it is closed. It is, and on one side the pipe is connected to a large tank or reservoir. Say it is connected to a very large tank. Okay, on one side, and on the other side it is closed by a tap. Now I open the tap on the other side, 100 kilometer away from the tank. Okay, I open the tap 100 kilometer away from the tank. Now when will the flow start from the tank? Okay, the question is when will the flow start from the tank? Okay, there is a, so I will repeat again. I have a big tank on one side, very large tank. Okay, and then very long pipe, 100 kilometer long, and on the other side there is a tap. Now I open the tap at time t equal to 0, or at a certain time I open the tap. Okay. When I open the tap, at the end of the tap, will the flow immediately start coming out? Where the tap is there. So I open a tap in my house. Will the flow start immediately, or does it take some time?
It will take some.
It will not take time, because if the tap is open, there is no resistance to the flow. Immediately the flow will come out. Okay. You have just opened the boundary or domain. Okay. So what is stopping the flow? Nothing is stopping the flow. So flow will immediately come out. Okay. From the tap. But what will be, when will the flow start at the other end of this pipe? Means where the flow is connected to the tank, where the pipe is connected to the tank, when will the flow start there? Will the information that the tap is open immediately pass to the other end, that now the tap has opened 100 kilometers away? Immediately now we have to start supplying the flow from the reservoir. Will it happen immediately, or will it take say 1 hour to happen, or 1 day to happen, or never happen? Like how will we determine when it will happen? That this end, the pipe where it is connected to the tank, this end knows that okay, the tap has opened 100 kilometers away. When will it be felt? It will take some time, but how will you determine? Means
Water speed,
what
sir.
it is the speed, but what speed? Speed of what?
Water, sir. Flowing water.
Flowing water speed is say very less. Okay, flowing water is flowing at 1 centimeter per second. So it takes 100 seconds for just 1 meter to go. So for 100 kilometers, it will take then how much time? 10 to the power 6 into 100 second. 10 to the power 6 into 100 second means almost 100 million seconds. So 1000 days. So will it take 1000 days to start the flow from the other side? Speed of water is not the correct answer. Information travels at what speed? Through a compressible medium?
Speed of sound.
It travels at the speed of sound. Why it travels at the speed of sound? Speed of sound is nothing but the speed of pressure waves. Okay. Whenever we call speed of sound, it is nothing but speed of pressure waves. So information travels at the speed of pressure waves in a compressible medium. Okay. So if I talk here, the person who is standing 100 meters away from me will hear my voice after the sound has traveled at the speed of sound. Means after the pressure wave from my mouth has traveled to 100 meters away at the speed of sound. So it will take 1/3 seconds to reach there approximately. Similarly, speed of sound in the water is something somewhat different. It is actually higher as compared to speed of sound in air. So I don't remember the exact value. It is around 1.5 kilometer per second or something like that. So this information that the tap has opened on some other side will travel to the other end at the speed of pressure waves. Okay, it will not immediately pass. Okay, although the flow started at the other end, this side, which is connected to the tank, the left side or whatever side you can consider connected to the tank, will feel that the tap has opened after few seconds, after around 100 or 60 seconds, 70 seconds. Okay, because the pressure wave from that end of the tap has traveled to this point by taking a certain amount of time. So it means that information takes a certain amount of time to travel. Okay, it immediately does not travel. So in that case, in that type of problem, we cannot use this type of thing that immediately, or not this type, means the parabolic type of equation that immediately the information has traveled, means any change at point P immediately affects any other point in the domain, is not true for the problem that I am saying. Okay, there the actual information is passing at a certain time, so the effect of point P will also occur after a certain time. It will not immediately occur. Okay. Many other examples are there, means of this type of thing. Okay. Again, if you consider we are digressing, but let me just explain. These are interesting. Say there is a very long bar, okay, metallic bar, very long metallic bar. Okay. So if I push the bar from one end, will the other end move immediately or will it take certain time to move? I have a bar, okay, I have a bar, like a pipe or rod or whatever, you can just metallic, solid metal piece. I push it from one end. Okay, it's a rigid, say it is a rigid bar. Okay, say for this case it is a rigid bar. If I push it from one end, will the other end immediately move or not? If it is a rigid bar. Very easy question. You must know the answer. They're not related to CFD. Okay. If it is a rigid bar, rigid means what? All the points in a body move together. So if I push one end, it will immediately move, or the other end also will immediately move. But now if it is a real bar, okay, not a rigid bar. If it is a real bar is not rigid, right? Real bar has a, like if you put certain stress, there will be certain amount of strain that will be generated in real life. Okay, nothing can be rigid. So even the hardest materials are also non-rigid. Means if you push one end, if you say apply some force, there will be some strain. Now if it is a normal bar, say it is a steel bar, okay, I push one end of this bar. Will the other end move immediately or will it take certain time to move? I am pushing it along the axis, along the length. Okay. Just now we have discussed similar type of problem, so you should be able to answer this.
Sir, it will take some time.
It will take some time. How much time it will take? How will we determine? So this is the, what has happened?
Sir, is it like length of the speed of sound in that medium?
Correct. It will take the, so this is the bar and I am pushing it at this end. Okay, at this end. My question was that when will this end start moving? So this information that I have started pushing this with certain force, say I am pushing it with 1 kilonewton force. Okay, large amount of force. This information will take certain time to pass to the other end and it will pass at the speed of sound. Okay, at the speed of sound c. Generally it is denoted by c. So if this rod is, so in steel the speed of sound is different, it is around 5 kilometer per second. So if the rod is 500 kilometer long, the other end will start moving at after 100 seconds. Okay, if the rod is only 1 kilometer rod, other end will start moving after 0.2 second. Okay, so sometimes this type of puzzles are also asked. So if the imagine that situation that the rod is very long, okay, it is 1 light year long, okay, 1 light year long. Sometimes you will see this type of questions asked, tricky questions. It is 1 light year long. Okay. So then somebody asks that if I push this end, will the other end start moving immediately? So some people say that it will start moving immediately because it's a solid rod. okay, because it's made of solid material. So if it starts moving immediately, the information from this end to the other end has traveled much faster than the speed of light. Okay, but we know that information should not be able to travel faster than the speed of light in that case. Okay, so there is a contradiction that happens because people assume that information will travel immediately, but it will not travel immediately. It will take huge amount of time for this information to travel from this end to the end 1 light year away. It will just travel at the speed of sound through that material. Okay, so again, because of the pressure wave, it causes a change in pressure wave, and that actually is felt. So yes, question.
Sir, in rigid bodies also it should take
Sorry.
speed of sound movement. In rigid body.
No, rigid body will immediately move. Rigid body, there is no rigid body in real life. Okay.
Yeah, there is no real body, but
So if it's a rigid body, it's a mathematical body. Even if it is 100 light years long, if you push one end, it will start moving at the other end immediately.
it will not depend on pressure waves or
It
anything.
will not depend on anything. It will immediately start. If it start one end, immediately the other end, even if it is 100 light years away, it will start moving. Okay, but because there cannot be any real object like this, so this is just a hypothetical question. Okay, if you consider hypothetical, anything is possible. So in real life, it is not possible. Anything rigid is not possible. Okay, so always the information will take some time to travel. Otherwise, it's just like a hypothetical problem. So you cannot consider rigid body physics for this type of long distance problems. Okay. So we have gone long way out of track from our CFD course. Let us come back to it. Okay. So our my point was that any disturbance which is introduced at a certain point will only influence the future locations in future in time, but any point in space. Okay. So that the region is known as domain of influence of that point, and the point itself gets influenced by the past time. Okay, shown by this black region. So this is known as domain of dependence, and this line, horizontal line, is known as characteristic line. Okay, which demarcates the domain of influence. Okay, above which the domain of influence is present. So there is a discontinuity across the length at the time when the disturbance is given. Okay, discontinuity is not in the solution. Okay, the discontinuity is in the second order derivative. Okay, but that physically is manifested in this form, that in future time it is possible for the information to travel, in past it is not possible. Okay, so this type of problem are also known as time marching problem, and more accurately we should specify these problems as parabolic in time and elliptic in space. Okay, not entirely parabolic, it is only parabolic in time. This parabolic type of behavior, that the behavior is means the influence is only in one direction, is only felt along the time direction. Time has a specific property that any previous point will influence the future point but cannot influence the past point. Okay, so it is parabolic in time, but the problem is still elliptic in space. Elliptic type of problem is a point can influence both the past point and the future point. So past and future means along the x direction. So this point can influence the past means on the left side and the future on the right side also. So it is elliptic in space. Okay. This type of problems are also called as initial boundary value problems. Initial condition is needed, one initial condition and two boundary conditions, or the entire domain boundary condition is needed. For this case, two boundary conditions are needed and one initial condition. So up to this point, we had discussed in the previous class. Okay. Again, any questions regarding the characteristic or for the parabolic problem, the nature of parabolic problem, anything that is not clear to you, feel free to ask. Okay, because these are very important to know. So you should be very clear about what is the domain of influence, what is the domain of dependence, things like that. So if I introduce the disturbance at another point, okay, say I introduce the disturbance at the initial point itself, at initial time at x equal to L, okay, at this point. Let me open this. So here itself, I introduce a perturbation. Okay, there is a heat source of perturbation at x equal to L, time t equal to 0. Now, what is the domain of dependence and what is the domain of influence? What is the domain of influence of this point? And what is the characteristic line? What is the location of the characteristic line? Answers?
Sir, where is the disturbance introduced?
It is introduced at initial time t equal to 0 at x equal to L. Can you plot the t equal to 0, x equal to L point? T equal to 0 is which line? This bottom line, right? Time t equal to 0. And what is x equal to L? This point. So t equal to 0 is the entire line and x equal to L is this point. So t equal to 0, x equal to L is this point. So we have introduced at this point. I have marked it by this blue line. Now what is the domain of influence? Which regions are influenced by this disturbance?
Sir, all the regions
The
above
entire
t is equal.
Entire region is influenced. So entire domain is the domain of influence. And what is the domain of dependence? On which region does this point value of the point at this point belong? Or sorry, value at this point is affected by which region? What is the domain of dependence? Domain of influence is yes.
Sir, only the initial condition is there that depends. It affects it.
There is no domain of dependence is there. Okay, means there is no region which is going to affect this. Directly whatever value you have given, there itself the physical problem starts. Okay, there is no domain of dependence. What is the characteristic line?
So it is the initial.
The horizontal line from 0 to L, right? Is it clear to everyone? Characteristic line is the horizontal line from 0 to L. Okay. So let us now continue ahead. So up to this we had discussed previously. Any questions? Anything related to this? So we will go to the third type of problem, okay, which is known as hyperbolic equation. Third type of PD. There are three types. We have seen one example of elliptic, one example of parabolic. Now we will see one example of hyperbolic PD. Okay. So one very famous example of hyperbolic PD is 1D wave equation. So what is the 1D wave equation? 1D wave equation can be written in this form. Del square u del t square is equal to c square del square u del x square. Can you see this page 27 is the new document that I am showing now. Okay. So del square u del t square is equal to c square del square u del x square. So this is a famous equation which is known as 1D wave equation. What it represents is that u is any quantity which is a function of time and space. Okay. So time and space means space along the x direction, time along the t direction. And it can be, for example, it can be the displacement of at any point x from the initial position. Let me just show you one example, then it will be more clear instead of just saying verbally. Okay. Say I have a rope like this. I have a rope like this, which is held at two ends. Okay. This is x equal to 0 and this is x equal to L. This is a rope or wire, okay, like a guitar string. Now I pull it at this point and release it. Okay, I pull it like this. You can consider that this is a guitar string or something like that. So at this moment, it looks like this at a certain time. Okay, it looks like this and I release it. Okay, so what will happen? It will just vibrate. Okay, it will vibrate about its axis. So after some time, it will be like this, then like this. Okay. This information that this is pulled here will take some time to travel. Okay. So what this u represent is at any point x at this x point. Okay, let me take another color. at this x. Okay, what is the displacement in the y direction for this case? Okay, so if this is the distance from its initial position, not velocity, okay, what is the displacement from its initial position, okay, at a certain time t at a certain point location x. Okay, so u is a function of x and t. Okay, it is the displacement at x equal to say certain point x equal to x at time t equal to t. Okay, so this displacement u is governed by the equation that I have shown here, del square u del x square is equal to, or what was it, del square del t square, I think, yes. Del t square c square del square u del x square. Everything is written here. You don't have to write these things also. It is getting recorded also. Okay. So this equation gives us the variation of all u for all x and t. Okay. For that type of problem that just I have shown now. Okay. Wave propagation equation. Another example can be that u can be the pressure in a fluid, like which we were discussing, right? So there is a fluid in a cylinder, like a very long pipe is there, and I introduce a perturbation on the fluid. Okay, I push the fluid at one point. Okay, so this u can be the pressure of the fluid. Okay, the pressure will fluctuate because I have pushed it at one end. The pressure will fluctuate along the fluid that is contained in the pipe. Okay, so this pressure will travel at a certain speed of sound, and the fluctuation is captured through this del square u del t square equal to c square del square u del x square. So this equation, we will not go into the physics of this equation anymore, but we will just consider the nature of this equation. Okay, del square u del t square equal to c square del square u del x square, 1D wave equation. It can represent many situations, as I have shown again one case. Okay, 1D flow is happening and some pressure disturbance or fluctuation is given at a point. Okay, the equation governs how the pressure waves propagate. Let us try to find the nature of this PD. So again, just rearranging the terms, we can write this as c square del square u del x square minus del square u del t square equal to 0. Why we have written in this form? We want to write it in the general form. What was the general form? General form was this form. Okay. So this form was the general form, and when we can write it in the general form, we can find out what is A, B, and C, and then we can find out the nature of the PD. Okay. So we have written in the general form. So we can consider A as C square, B equal to 0 because there is no mixed derivative, and C equal to -1. Okay. So with respect to x, the coefficient A is C square, mixed derivative coefficient is 0. And the other derivatives, other double derivative coefficient is -1. Okay. I am using capital ABC here to distinguish between this capital C, which is just a coefficient, and this small c, which is the constant that is present here. Okay, this small c we will see later. This small c is the speed of the pressure wave or speed of sound. Okay, speed at which the information travels, speed of the pressure wave. So to distinguish between the small c, I am writing the coefficients in capital instead of using small letters. Okay, it's the same thing, A, B, and C. So B square minus 4AC you can calculate. B square is 0 minus 4AC, so minus 4 into C square into -1. So it is positive 4C square, okay, which is positive. And we know that if B square minus 4AC is positive, we call this type of equation as hyperbolic equation. So this is an example of a hyperbolic equation. This wave equation is an example of a hyperbolic equation. Okay. As B square minus 4AC is greater than 0, the nature of the equation is hyperbolic, and there should be two real and distinct characteristics. Okay, as we have stated here. But we have not seen this yet. We have just stated that there should be two distinct and real characteristics, and the nature is hyperbolic. Now again you can ask me the question, same question previously I was asking. Okay, it is all good and fine that you are saying that this is hyperbolic equation, but what it means physically? Okay, mathematically we are saying that this is hyperbolic. You've shown some classification, we did some calculation, and we have calculated v square minus 4ac, and we have shown that it is greater than 0. So we have to call it hyperbolic equation. But what it means? Why this classification that this is hyperbolic? Physically, what it means? What is the difference with elliptic or say parabolic equation? How does this problem behave differently? This sort of question we have to ask ourselves. Okay. And what it means that there are two distinct and real characteristics. You are stating that there are two distinct and real characteristics, but how can I see where are these characteristics, these real characteristics? How can I plot them? Okay, these are the questions that we need to answer. So to understand that, we will just stop here for a moment or pause for a moment with this case 3 and go into finding characteristics of a general second order PD, and then we will come back again to this hyperbolic case, okay, to see how to find the characteristics. Okay, at this moment what do we know? That this is a hyperbolic type of equation and it should have two real and distinct characteristics based on our definition here. Okay. Now we will pause here for a moment and we will go into again the general PD that we had considered here, and we will try to find out the characteristic of this general second order PD. Okay, so if it is a hyperbolic equation, there should be two characteristics. If it is a parabolic equation, there should be one characteristic. If it is a elliptic equation, there should not be any characteristic. So we will try to find that. Okay. So I will pause here for 5 minutes, take a break for 5 minutes, and after the break, we'll continue with this discussion. And in between, if you think of any questions, you just go over the material and try to think of any questions. Okay, if you have any questions, I will keep this material open in small form so that you have it open on your desktop. I will join after 5 minutes. Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let us continue. So we are trying to find the characteristics of second order PD, only for second order PD, okay, and two-dimensional problem, means two independent variables x, y. So the general equation, we have already seen the general equation is given in this form: AUXX plus BUXY plus UYY plus DUX plus EUY plus FU plus G equal to 0. All the different possible terms are present here. Okay, three second order terms, then two derivatives with respect, one with respect to x, one with respect to y, any terms of u and any other terms. Okay, in this case u is a variable which is a dependent variable and function of x and y. Okay, and x and y are the independent variables. So now we can write this as just the same equation, but clubbing all the non-second order terms together. Okay, in a single term, we can write this as AUXX plus BUXY plus UYY plus H equal to 0, where H includes all the other terms. Why we have written like this? Because we will see later that the other terms are not very important for us. Only the highest order terms are important. Okay, so that's why we have clubbed all the other terms together. So this is say equation 2. Okay, let us remember this equation. I will keep it open on this side also, equation 2. So now u is a function of x and y. So first derivative of ux can be written as if ux, which is itself a function of x and y. Okay, so ux also is a function of x and y. So d of ux can be written as del ux del x dx plus del ux del y dy. Just normal definition of derivative. Dux is equal to del ux del x dx plus del ux del y dy. Okay, or we can write dux as, what is del ux del x? So it is double derivative of u with respect to x, partial, double partial derivative. So uxx into dx, and del ux del y is uxy. Okay, means del square u del x del y. Okay, so uxy dy. So this is another equation 3. Dux is equal to uxx dx plus uxy dy. Similarly, let us form another equation. Uy is, I can write u is equal to u of x and y. So uy I can write as uy of x and y, means uy is also function of x and y. And why this is important, function of x and y? Because then when we try to get this derivative, it comes in this form. Okay, so duy is equal to del uy del x dx plus del uy del y dy. Okay, again similar to the previous case, but now we are just taking the derivative. Okay, and this again I can write as duy is equal to, so del uy del x is again del square u del y del x. Okay, so it is uyx. So because the order does not matter, order of the derivatives, so I can write uyx as uxy. So I have written as uxy dx. And the second term is double derivative with respect to y. Okay, so it is uyy dy. So this is another equation. Okay, so let us call this equation as 4. Duy is equal to uxy dx plus uyy dy. This is of similar nature to equation 3, but slightly different. Okay, because we have started with uy instead of ux. So now these three equations, I can arrange them in matrix form. Okay, we have three equations. Assuming that so like these are the three unknowns, uxx, uxy and uyy. We have three equations and three unknowns. Okay, why we are assuming that uxx, uxy and uyy are unknowns? Because these are the highest order terms in this equation, in the general equation. And if we assume that these are the unknowns, we can try to solve for them, and there may be situation where the solution may not exist. And we have discussed that if the highest order terms, if for the highest order term the solution does not exist, those regions are known as characteristic, okay, or characteristic line. The line where these highest order derivatives do not have any solution are known as characteristic line. Okay, so we will use these three equations to find the solution of uxx, uxy, and uyy. Okay, let us write them. So the equations are also present here, just for your reference. So just keep this in mind, and we will arrange them in a matrix form. Okay. So the first equation is A into uxx plus B into uxy plus C into uyy is equal to minus h. Okay. So this column into, sorry, this row into this column, right? Second equation is dx into uxx. So see this equation. Okay. Dx into uxx plus dy into uxy plus 0 into uyy. So dx into uxx plus dy into uxy is equal to dux. Okay. So this equation is written in this form. Third equation I can write as 0 into uxx, so 0 plus dx into uxy, this term, dx into uxy plus dy into uyy, this term, is equal to duy. Okay. So this row and this column again to give you this value. So this is in matrix form. Okay, where A is the coefficient matrix, A, B, C, dx, dy 0 and 0 dx, dy. X is the unknown, uxx, uxy, and uyy, and B is the is a vector containing the other variables. Okay, known values. At this point, we don't know the values, but we are assuming that these are the known values. Okay, so Ax equal to B. In this form, we have written. Well, I've already described what is A, X, and B. Okay. So what is the solution of this equation? How do you find X from this equation? Or how do you find uxx, uxy, and uyy from this equation, from this matrix arrangement? X is uxx, uxy, uyy, right? So if I find the value of x, I will find the value of the three elements of this vector. So how will I find the value of x? What is the, this you have learned even in I think 11, 12, just simple linear algebra.
Sir, we'll invert the matrix.
We will invert the matrix. Okay, you will multiply by A inverse on both sides. So A inverse into A, so which will become what? Means unity matrix, identity matrix, sorry, into X. So X is equal to A inverse B. Okay, I can write X is equal to A inverse B. Okay, so in which case will the solution be not possible?
Sir, when determinant of A is 0.
When determinant of A is 0, correct, good. When the determinant of A is 0, matrix inversion is not possible. Okay, so the solution is not possible. So we are not actually bothered with the solution. So I was telling that we want to find the solution, but we actually don't want to find the solution. We want to find the situation when the solution does not exist. Okay, that is our aim. Why is this our aim? Because that is what defines the characteristics. Okay, so we want to know when the solution of this equation Ax equal to B does not exist. Okay, why? I have written some notes here which we have already discussed. The partial derivatives of the highest order are uxx, uxy, and uyy for this general equation. Okay, these three derivatives are the partial derivatives of second order, which is the highest order. Now there may be lines in the domain, lines or points in the domain across which these highest order partial derivatives are not continuous. Okay, not the solution. The highest order partial derivatives are not continuous. Solution may be continuous, but the second order derivative of the solution may not be continuous. There may be jump. Okay, so these lines where the second order derivatives are not continuous are known as characteristic lines. Okay, and these lines can be obtained when the solution of Ax equal to B does not exist. Because if the solution does not exist, it means that solution for uxx, uyy, and uxx, uxy, and uyy does not exist. It means that if we can find some locations where this solution does not exist, there is a discontinuity in the second order terms, and which we will term as the characteristic. By like the entire locus of those points we will term as characteristic. Is it clear? Or I have not yet come to the characteristic equation, but is it clear why we are trying to find the situation when the solution does not exist, and what does it mean by characteristic? Any queries? I'm assuming that no queries are there. Okay, so I will just repeat again once so that it is clear to everyone, even if you are not asking. Okay, so what we mean by characteristic lines, if you go back, we had discussed actually lines across which the second order, in the previous class we had lines across which the highest order partial derivatives are not continuous. Okay, highest order partial derivatives. So because our equation is a second order PD, highest order are the second order terms. So these three terms are not continuous along that line. Okay, across that line means on one side of the line they have one value, on the other side of the line they may have another value. So there may be a jump. So at that line there may be no solution or an infinite number of solutions. Okay, let us assume that there is no solution on that line. Okay, so say the equations problem that we were seeing. So the second order derivatives are exist on this side, they exist on this side, but there is a jump across this line. Okay, for the second order derivatives, not the solution. Solution is continuous. So this is what we meant by characteristic. Okay, so because there is a jump, we want to find a situation where the jump occurs, the region where the jump occurs. How will we find that? If we can find the location where the solution does not exist, then we will find the locus of all these points, which we can join together and call it as a characteristic. Okay, so now we are trying to find a situation where the solution of uxx, uxy and uyy does not exist. And as someone has correctly pointed out, it will happen when the determinant of A is 0. Then you cannot have the matrix inversion, then you cannot solve for it. Okay, so if determinant of A is 0, solution of uxx, uxy and uyy does not exist. Okay, I will repeat again, if determinant of A is 0, solution of uxx, uxy and uyy does not exist. Okay, so now our task is to find when the determinant of A is 0. Okay, our task is to find, so A is here, so when this determinant of A is 0, that is our task. Okay, so again I have written what I have already told you. For the equation Ax equal to b, the solution is given by x is equal to A inverse b. When the determinant of A is 0, the solution does not exist. When the determinant of A is 0, it means that there is a discontinuity in the values of uxx, uyy and uxy. Okay, along that line. So we are trying to find the solution, find the determinant, like the situation when the determinant is 0. Okay, so solution of uxx, uxy and uyy does not exist when determinant of ABC dx dy 0 and 0 dx dy is equal to 0. Okay, determinant of this equal to 0. One important thing that we should note here is that, see, for this characteristic, finding the characteristic, only the coefficients A, B and C have come into the picture. Okay, we had lot of coefficients in the general equation A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, 7 coefficients were there, but none of them have come into picture except A, B and C. So only the coefficients A, B, C are part of this and they are important. Okay, D, E, F, G are not required for finding the characteristics. Okay, so only the second order or highest order terms are important. So determinant is 0, find the determinant. You already know this is again class 12, class 11 maths. Okay, so A into dy square minus 0. So A into dy square plus B into 0 minus dx dy. Okay, B into 0 minus dx dy plus C into dx square minus 0. Okay, plus C into dx square equal to 0. So this is when the determinant is 0, or I can write this as A divide, so dividing the entire, like all the terms by dx square, we get A dy dx whole square minus B dy dx. Okay, by dividing this by dx square plus c equal to 0, or dy dx. So this is a quadratic equation. Dy dx is equal to minus of minus b, so plus b, plus minus b square, so which is becoming positive, so b square minus 4ac divided by 2a. Okay, so dy dx is equal to b plus minus b square minus 4ac root over b square minus 4ac by 2a. What does it mean? It means that when dy dx is equal to this value, a, b, c are known values, right? They are the coefficients. When dy dx is equal to this value, then there, for those cases, the solution of second order derivatives do not exist. So all the points where dy dx is equal to this value constitute the characteristic line. Okay, is it clear? So this equation is known as the equation of characteristic. Okay, this equation gives us the equation of the characteristic. This is the equation of a line. Okay, it is dy dx is the slope of a line. If you integrate, you will get a equation of a line. Okay, y is equal to some constant into x plus some other constant. So here, if you integrate, you will get y is equal to this entire thing into x plus some constant. Okay, so this is an equation of a line, and this line is the line at which or on which the determinant of this entire determinant is 0. So there is a discontinuity on this line. So that's why we are calling this as characteristic line. So this is how we have determined the characteristic equation. Now you can see, okay, previously I have just defined without telling you how these things have come. B square minus 4ac is less than 0, elliptic, b square minus 4ac equal to 0, parabolic, b square minus 4ac greater than 0, hyperbolic. Means how the characteristic lines, we have assumed that no characteristics is there for elliptic or for b square minus 4ac less than 0. But for hyperbolic, two characteristics are there, b square minus 4ac greater than 0. Okay, let us see those cases again. So if b square minus 4ac is less than 0, this term is negative, root over negative term is imaginary. So it means that there is no real solution to this equation. Okay, because this is an imaginary term. Okay, you get a complex number, so you do not get any real solution. Okay, so if b square minus 4ac is 0, you do not get any real equation for a characteristic line. Okay, so there is no real solution for dy dx, therefore there are no real characteristics. Okay, so that's why for this type of equation there is no real characteristic. We call this as elliptic PD. We will not go into the nomenclature. So the second case is b square minus 4ac equal to 0. Okay, when this is equal to 0, this root over 0, this term vanishes. So we are left with b by 2a. Okay, so this is a single solution, b by 2a. So we have one equation for dy dx. Dy dx is equal to b by 2a. Okay, so only one solution is there for dy dx. Therefore, only one real characteristic is there, and that is what we have written previously also, that one real characteristic for parabolic equation. Okay. Now, if b square minus 4ac is positive, this root over term also is a positive term. So now we will have two solutions: b plus root over b square minus 4ac, or b minus root over b square minus 4ac by 2a. Okay. So you will have two equations for dy dx, one with this positive sign, one with the negative sign. Okay. So in this case, if b square minus 4ac is greater than 0, there are two real and distinct solutions for dy dx. Therefore, there are two real and distinct characteristics. Okay, I will explain again. If b square minus 4ac is less than 0, this number is complex number, so there is no real solution. So there is no equation for line. If b square minus 4ac is equal to 0, this term is 0, and you have an equation for a single line. Dy dx is equal to b by 2a. And if b square minus 4ac is positive, you have two separate equations. One equation is dy dx is equal to b plus root over b square minus 4ac by 2a. Another equation is dy dx is equal to b minus root over b square minus 4ac by 2a. Because we have two separate equations, both of them are equations for lines. Okay, we consider them as two real and distinct characteristic lines. For hyperbolic equation, there are two real and distinct characteristic lines. Just before ending this part, I would like to emphasize that whatever we have discussed for this deriving this, okay, deriving this characteristic is valid for second order PD. Okay, the way we have it, characteristics can be also obtained for other types of PD, but what we have discussed is only valid for second order PD. The way we have discussed it, it is only valid for second order PD, and that too in a two-dimensional form. Okay, means x and y are the unknowns, independent variables, and based on that we have discussed. Okay, so that is why we have obtained this classification. Okay, and now you can see that there is a physical meaning. The behavior will change, means the number of lines will change, or equation for lines or characteristic, depending on whether we, how many solutions are there for dy dx equal to 0. Okay, and what is the meaning of this solution? Dy dx is equal to this way. What is the meaning? So this solution is the line. This is not the solution of the governing equation. Governing equation is entirely different thing. Okay, it is not anywhere related directly to the governing equation. Okay, it is the solution of the line on which the second order derivatives are not continuous. Okay, there is a distinction between this and solution of. Sometimes people think this is the solution of the equation. This is nowhere the solution of the equation. This is only solution for finding where the second order derivatives are not continuous. Okay. Any questions? All this material is uploaded. You can also read it. It's not there. It's not from any specific book. So I would suggest that you just go through the notes for this part. When we jump into the CFD part, means finite volume method, then you can follow the books that I have mentioned. In some of the books, this will be there. You can go through some of the CFD books, but means I think I'm not sure whether it is there in Malala Sekar also or not. Patankar not there, but this is just general information. Okay. From the next class, actually, we will start discussing about actual CFD, things, means actual things related to actual CFD. So before this, we are just going through the basic mathematics like governing equations and PDs. Then we will start with discretization from the next class. Anyway, let us continue today. Any questions? Okay, so if you remember, towards the beginning of the class, we had started with the wave equation. Del square u del t square is equal to c square del square u del x square. It will look small. If you are using a mobile, it may not be visible, but I have to keep this open here so that I can show you the continuation from this side. Okay. So we have stated that there should be two real and distinct characteristics. Okay, because this is a hyperbolic equation, there should be two real and distinct characteristics. We wanted to find this characteristic, but before that we had digressed and we found the general characteristic of a second order PD. Okay. So for this particular case, now let us try to find the characteristic. C square is d square del square u del x square minus del square u del t square equal to 0. So A is c square, B is 0, and C is minus 1. Okay. And what is the equation of characteristic we have obtained for the general case? Dy dx is equal to b plus minus b root over b square minus 4ac by 2a. I am using capital letters again to distinguish between the coefficient c and the speed c here. It means the constant c here. Okay. So between this c, so we don't yet know that this is the speed, but between this constant c, which is specified by the small letter, and the coefficient c, capital letter. Okay. So the equation of characteristic is dy dx is equal to b plus minus root over b square minus 4ac by 2a. This we have derived. Okay, for general case. So coming back to our actual case, a is c square, b is 0, and c is minus 1. So replace these things. B is 0 means 0 plus minus root over 0 minus 4 into c square into minus 1. Okay. And dy dx, so instead of dy dx, we have the two variables t and x. Okay. So dt dx. The way we have put the equation. This is the form. Okay, x is the first variable. So this is why it is dt dx. Okay. So dt dx is equal to b plus minus root over b square minus 4ac by 2a. Replace these values. Let me open it here so that you can see. 0 plus minus 0 plus 4c square by 2c square. A is c square. Okay. So you get an equation which is dt dx is equal to plus minus 1 by c. Okay. After simplifying this, you get dt dx is equal to plus minus 1 by c, or dx dt is equal to plus minus c. Okay. Or x is equal to, by integrating you get x is equal to plus minus ct plus some constant c1, where c1 is a constant depending on the location of the point. Meaning of this will be clear in a minute. What do we mean by location of the point? But what is this equation? This is an equation of a line, right? So which gives a line with respect to x and t, and slope of this line is c. Okay, and dx dt. So this is some form of velocity or speed. Okay, so this speed is the speed at which information travels. So this is the speed at which information travel, as we will see now with an example. Okay, up to this point, is there any doubt or any question? The mathematical part. X is equal to plus minus ct plus c1. So we have two equations of lines. One is with plus and one is with minus. So you can write this as c1 plus ct and c1 minus ct. C1 is a constant. We don't know what is the value of the constant. C is the small c that was present in the equation. Okay, the small c that was present in the wave equation. Now let us consider again our domain. Okay, similar to the parabolic case. So we have the domain, x is varying from 0 to L and t is varying from 0 to t last. Okay, same as the similar to the parabolic equation. What does the horizontal line here at any point? What does the horizontal line mean? For this case, say u is a variable, u is the amplitude of the wave. Not the amplitude means the, yes, means displacement of a particle from its mean position. Okay, like when we were seeing the case of this plucking a string, or say its fluctuation in pressure wave. So what does it mean, this horizontal line in this xt domain? Physically, it is the location of, it is the all the locations from 0 to L at a certain time t. Okay, this is what we mean by horizontal line. Same as parabolic equation, right? Ultimately, it's the same domain. X is equal to 0 to L and t equal to 0 to t last. Okay, so any horizontal line means that all the length but at a certain time t. Any vertical line means that at a certain point but along the time. Okay, at a certain point but along the time. You have already explained. Okay, you should respond, should not sit silently. So now, for this type of equation, what happens when we introduce a disturbance or perturbation or source or some fluctuation? Okay, say we introduce a fluctuation at point P. What is this point P? It is at a certain distance from x equal to 0 and at a certain time from t equal to 0. So this is entire length is 1 meter and I am introducing a disturbance at 0.5 meter and time 100 seconds. Okay, I am introducing a disturbance. So the wire was there, the string was there, it was there just lying around. The string was just lying around, and for first t from 0 to 100 seconds I have done nothing. But then at a suddenly at when the time became 100, I have put a disturbance here. Okay, some fluctuation here, some force or something here. Okay, so that it goes like this, the shape becomes like this. Okay, I have plucked it there. So, and so this point actually gives us a location with respect to space because this is at a distance, at this distance x from the 0 point, and also with respect to time, because it is at a distance t from the time t is equal to 0. Okay, so this point P is the location of the disturbance in the time space domain. Okay, now what are the lines, equation of the lines that we have drawn? X is equal to Ct plus C1. If I draw through this line, it is a line with a slope C. Okay, opposite slope 1 by C, and yes, it goes like this. Okay, X is equal to Ct plus C1. So C1 is some constant based on the initial position of this point. Okay, and similarly, this line also is can be written as minus Ct plus C1. Okay, so these are the two lines which we have calculated as the characteristic line. Okay, there may be some constants here missing. Okay, we will not bother with that. Okay, T minus T0 or something like that. So whatever is the thing, so there are two lines which are passing through the point. One is with this positive slope and one with the negative slope. Okay. Now what physically we mean is that if there is a disturbance, the disturbance is only felt within the cone that is bounded by these two lines. Okay, within the cone that is only bounded by these two lines. Within this triangle that is bounded by these two lines, the disturbance is felt. The disturbance is not felt everywhere in the domain. Okay, so only in the region where the lines are actually bounding that region. Okay, let me explain in more detail what is happening here. Okay. So again, I have the Tx domain here. This is x, this is t, and say this is time t equal to 0, and this is time t equal to some value. Okay, t last 200 second or whatever. This is also x equal to 0 origin, and this is x equal to L. So our entire domain with respect to time and space is this one. Okay. Now, at a certain time, say at the beginning itself or at a certain time, okay, I'll draw another line. Say t equal to t1, 100 second. Okay, at this time t equal to t1. Before that, let me just go to a previous. Okay, let's say time t equal to 0. I plug this string at certain point. Okay, at x equal to say L by 2. It can be any other point also. Okay. Now, or I have introduced some disturbance. So I have a pipe filled with water and I have put a pressure fluctuation. Or like if you throw a stone on a pond, okay, the stone has just struck the pond, okay, surface. Now waves will start traveling in all directions. Now at this moment, any other point along this line does not feel the influence that I have changed something or I have introduced a perturbation here. Okay, at this moment there is no consequence of this change on any other point. Okay. Now this information travels in both direction at the speed c. Okay. So at a certain time, after a certain time, so certain time has passed. Okay. Now t is equal to t1. This is very important. Please pay attention. The drawing may not be very accurate. I hope it will convey the meaning. So what is the location? So this was the initial location of the disturbance in the x direction at x equal to L by 2. So up to how far on the right hand side has the information moved? How far has the information moved on the right hand side that there is a disturbance introduced here at time t equal to t1? Speed of travel of information is small c. Okay. Answers? So there was a change here. So will this change is still here? So this point obviously will feel it. Will this point feel this change? How will I determine whether this point will feel the change or not? Or whether this point will feel the change or not? That there is a fluctuation introduced. If you forget about the string problem, you can also consider this problem, which may be easier to visualize for the thermal students. Okay. Voice is not coming clearly. Your voice is not coming. Can you repeat, please? Your voice is not coming clearly. Just consider this case, okay, for easy visualization. There is a long cylindrical pipe which we will consider as 1D cylinder. It is filled with water, and at a certain time I have put a pressure fluctuation here. Okay, like I have thrown a stone there, pressure fluctuation here. Because it's a 1D cylinder, the pressure waves will travel in both directions. If it's a 2D surface, the pressure waves would have traveled like this. If it was a 2D surface, pressure waves would have traveled like this. But because it's a 1D, pressure will just travel as a line. Okay. How far is the pressure wave gone in a certain time t? If the speed of the pressure wave is c, this you cannot answer.
Or CT.
CT, right? CT in one direction and in the other direction minus CT means CT in the other direction also. So if this location of the point is L by 2, up to which point has the information traveled about the pressure fluctuation?
L by 2 plus CT and L by 2 minus CT.
L by 2 plus CT1 and L by 2 minus CT1
Minus CT.
if T is equal to T1. Okay. If it is general T, L by 2 plus CT and L by 2 minus CT. Okay. So this point is L by 2 plus CT. Okay, general T or T1 you can consider. And this point is L by 2 minus CT. Okay. Drawing is not accurate. It is originating from this point. Okay. So the pressure wave now at this time t equal to t1, if you are within this region, say there is a boat, this boat here will feel the pressure wave already within this time. But will a boat which is sitting here will it feel the pressure wave at the time t1 if this distance is ct? Again same problem, you visualize in 2D. Okay, there's a big pond. There are two boats. One person is sitting there on one boat, another person is sitting there on another boat. Okay, I have thrown a big stone at this location. I have thrown a big stone at this location at time initial time t equal to 0. So at initial time t equal to 0, will this person feel anything? Answers. Don't wait for others. Everyone is waiting for the other person to answer. That's why no one is answering. Come on, this is very like trivial question I am asking. I have thrown a big stone here, and at time t equal to 0, instantly when I have thrown, the time is 0. Means I have a stopwatch, I put the time 0. And two persons are there. One is sitting on a boat here, one is sitting on a boat here. Will this person feel anything that the stone has been thrown? They are blindfolded, so they cannot see anything. They can just feel that boat will go up and down when the wave arrives. When will this person feel that the stone has been thrown here? Answers?
Sir, when the
What has
waves
happened?
reach,
When the waves reach, yes. Why you guys are not answering anything? If you sit silently, it's very difficult to take the class. Okay. So when the waves reach? So when will the waves reach? If the speed of travel of the wave is c, in this case it's not speed of sound, but say the travel is c, means velocity is c. Then the wave will reach after if the distance is, say, some d distance is there. After time d by c, it will reach, right? The waves. So say after certain time, the waves have reached a certain point like this. It is going in all direction at same speed, right? C into T. So the first person will feel the wave or not?
yes, sir.
And second person,
No, he won't.
he won't feel until the wave reaches him. Same thing is happening in 1D also, right? You have a 1D pipe, and I have introduced a disturbance here. There are two observers. One is sitting here, another observer is sitting here, okay, with some instrument. So at initial time, the pressure wave is just at this location. After a certain time, the pressure wave have moved up to this distance in both sides. Okay, what is this distance? C into T1, and on the other side also C into T1. Okay. So the first observer who is within this distance C into T1 with respect to the initial point, will he feel the disturbance or not? You
Yes, sir.
guys are watching movies or what are you doing? He will feel. Or what about the other observer? They won't feel, right? Because the wave has not yet reached there. So same
Yes, sir.
thing. Okay. So when will this person feel the influence? When the wave reaches there. Okay. So at a later time, right? So it depends on the time. Depending on the time, the zone of influence increases, right? The zone of influence increases depending on the time. And what is the width of the zone of influence? You cannot add these two.
2CT1.
2CT1. Okay. So always it is equal to, so for a general time t, the zone of influence has a thickness 2CT. Okay, width. So initially the perturbation was here. At a certain time, anything which is within this region, okay, within this region, starting from L by 2 plus CT1 minus CT1 to L by 2 plus CT1, they will feel that some perturbation has occurred. Anyone who is located outside, say sitting here, what has happened? Sitting here or here, they won't feel any change. Okay. What is this point? It is a certain point in space at that time T1. Okay. But will this person never feel the effect or will he feel the effect? That there was a stone that was thrown in the center. Will this person
He will
never
feel,
feel the effect? Yes,
he will feel it after.
he will feel it. When will he feel it? After a certain time, when the waves reach there, right? So if I extend this line, Okay. So after a certain time, if you draw a vertical line here, this region will also now come inside the zone of influence. Okay. So now the pressure wave has reached this person. This is the same person because he is sitting on the same location. Only the time is advancing along this line. So now the person is going to feel that. So ultimately, any person at the boundary also, the person who is sitting at the boundary, they will feel it after a certain time. Okay. So these two lines, okay, L by 2 minus Ct and L by 2 plus Ct, these are the equation of the two lines for this particular case. These lines denote the characteristic line, and the region which is within this line, okay, the region which is within this line, bounded by these lines, is the zone of influence of this point. Okay, so this can also be, so here this is same as C1 minus Ct and C1 plus Ct. Okay, here the value of C1 is L by 2. The equation that we have derived, C1 minus Ct and C1 plus Ct. The constant C1 depends on the location. Here the value of C1 is L by 2. Okay, so our characteristic lines are L by 2 minus Ct and L by 2 plus Ct. Okay, is it clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
Okay, good. So similarly now, if you consider another case, but the perturbation is given at a later time. Okay, another case is there. And same thing again. So x equal to 0, x equal to L, t equal to 0, t equal to t last. But now the pressure, the stone was not thrown at time t equal to 0. I waited for 100 seconds and after that I threw the stone. Okay, so I threw the stone still at L by 2. I threw the stone still at L by 2. Okay, but after a certain time, okay, at time t equal to say 100 second or whatever time, I have thrown the stone. Okay, so t is equal to t1. I have thrown the stone. So this is the point where the fluctuation is given, pressure fluctuation. Okay, at this point, just the stone has been thrown. Okay, nothing else has happened. Okay, so if a person is sitting here, he or she does not know anything about it because he or she cannot feel that the stone has been thrown. Now again the information will pass. Information will pass at what speed? At the speed of sound or the free speed of the pressure wave. Okay, so in this direction. So this observer will come into the zone of influence after a certain time. Okay, when this point comes into the within the zone of influence. Okay, so now this is the zone of influence of the point. Okay, only the time after this and bounded by these two lines. Okay, if you consider these two lines on the other side, this point cannot change anything on the other side, right? Because it is previous time. At that time, it cannot change anything. However, if another fluctuation was given anywhere within this point, okay, another fluctuation was given anywhere within this point, okay, it would have been felt at this point. So this point, this region is the domain of dependence. Okay, domain of dependence. This top region is domain of influence. These are already written there, so you don't have to bother written in the notes. I am just explaining again so that you have a better understanding. Okay, anything which is within this region, if any perturbation is given, this will be felt by this point P. Okay, here. So this will be the domain of dependence of P. I leave it up to you to discuss or find out why this is the domain of dependence. You can show it if you consider different cases of perturbation. So I will give you one hint. If you consider that a perturbation has occurred here, okay. Now the information about this will again travel at speed c. So it will travel along this, like the zone of influence of this point will be bounded by these lines, right? So this line is just the limiting point at which this region comes within the zone of influence. If I take another point beyond this point here, okay, its zone of influence will not include this point, okay. So any point outside this original line, their zone of influence will not include this point, okay. So we are trying to find all the points whose zone of influence includes this point. So those points are the zone of dependence for this point, okay. Similarly on this side, if I have a fluctuation here, this also has character. These lines are parallel, remember, because the slope is same. But if I have another fluctuation here, then this will just get included in the, this point will just get included in the zone of influence. If I have a fluctuation here, this will comfortably get included in the zone of influence, okay. So this is within the zone of influence. So anything which is within this initial triangle will influence this point, okay. Anything outside will not influence this point. So this is the domain of dependence. You think about this, okay. This is slightly tricky, and try to understand why this is the domain of dependence, okay. So already I have discussed everything which I have written here. So these lines are known as characteristic lines, and this is the location of disturbance, this is the domain of influence, and this is the domain of dependence, okay. And c is the velocity of propagation of waves, information. C is the velocity of propagation of information. So here the information does not travel at infinite speed, it travels at a finite speed. That's why if you change something, the entire domain, space domain, does not feel the change, unlike conduction problem. In heat conduction, if I change the temperature anywhere, the entire domain is going to feel the temperature change, okay. But here it is, the wave will take certain time to travel, okay. In heat conduction also there are similar type of problems which are known as non-Fourier heat conduction, but that is beyond the scope of this course. Like wave-like propagation of heat also is there, which we will not discuss. So any disturbance given at point P in space and time can only influence the zone bounded by the characteristic lines above P. This zone is known as the zone of influence. Okay, let me just keep it open. Any disturbance given at point P in space and time can influence only the region bounded by the characteristic lines. There is discontinuity across the characteristic lines, and the information from P cannot go beyond this line. The information from P cannot go beyond this line, both in time and space. Okay, so for a particular space point, means a point on a particular location, it will depend on the time whether this is within the zone of influence or not. Depending on that, we can say that whether it will be influenced or not. Okay. Just again to reinforce that what we have discussed, I have already discussed this. I will just again state this. Consider a 1D cylinder filled with a compressible fluid. A pressure fluctuation is given at x equal to C1. Okay, at a distance x equal to C1, a pressure fluctuation is given at time t equal to 0. What will be the location of the pressure wave? We have just now discussed this. Okay, there is a cylinder filled with fluid. We are given a pressure fluctuation at x equal to C1. What is the location of the pressure wave? So at any instant, the pressure wave is at a distance C1 plus Ct on the right hand side and C1 minus Ct on the left hand side, because the pressure wave is traveling with speed c. Okay, so if you join all the points with C1 plus Ct and C1 minus Ct, you get lines like this. Okay, these are the characteristic lines, and this enclose the domain of influence in that case. So at any given time, if you draw a horizontal line, it will be any given time. You can get the space in the cylinder, means up to which point the cylinder is getting influenced. So even after time has finished, the cylinder is getting influenced only up to this point. Okay, it means that the boundaries are still not getting affected. Only certain locations are getting affected. The information yet has not reached the boundary. Okay, very important. If I have a long pipe, like 100-kilometer long pipe, I was saying, it takes a lot of time for the information to travel there. At any time t, the pressure waves have traveled at the speed of sound c. Again, I have already discussed. At any time t, the pressure waves have traveled at the speed of sound c for a distance ct. Let's keep it open. In both directions. The position of pressure wave front then can be defined as at time t it is c1 plus ct and c1 minus ct. Okay. So this is how the characteristics are drawn for a hyperbolic type of problem. Okay. So for this type of equations, two initial conditions are required. Okay. There was a double derivative with respect to time. Two initial conditions are required. Maybe the velocity and displacement for a wave, like for the wave equation. Okay. And boundary conditions may not always influence the solution depending on space and time. Say we have a boundary condition at this point. Okay. So for this, because this boundary is never within this zone of influence, this boundary is never going to, so this is not correct. Okay, let me just go back to our drawing. Say I have a boundary here. Okay, I have a boundary here. I have put some boundary condition. So the zone of influence of the boundary condition also travels with the speed x equal to minus ct and plus ct. Plus ct, there is nowhere to go. Okay, so anywhere outside this region, okay, the boundary condition will not be felt. Anything which is within this line, the boundary condition will be felt. So if I am at any point, say L by 2, I will not feel the boundary condition effect until I reach a certain time. Then only I will feel the effect of boundary condition. Okay. This is also very important. So with this, we will stop with our PDs. Okay, we will not go into further maths of PD, mathematical details of PD. We have gone through some of the basics of PD, and our main focus was to see what is the nature of second order PD, and we have seen that based on their nature, we can classify the second order PDs into three types: elliptical, then parabolic and hyperbolic. And we have seen an example of each of these cases, and we have seen the behavior is different. Elliptical, there is no real characteristic. What is the domain of influence and domain of dependence, we have seen. Parabolic, we have seen one real characteristic. What is the domain of influence and domain of dependence, we have seen. And hyperbolic, we have seen two real characteristics and what is the domain of influence and domain of dependence. Okay, this domain of influence and domain of dependence obviously depend on the point where you are selecting that point. So each point will have its own domain of influence and domain of dependence. I will finish this with the definition of what is a well posed problem. In CFD, we sometimes call whether a problem is well posed or not. A well posed problem is a problem. So remember, any CFD problem is governed by a PDE, right? By a governing equation. So if the governing equation has a solution, if the solution to a PDE exists, okay, there is no guarantee that solution will exist. But if the solution exists and is unique, and if the solution depends continuously on the initial and boundary condition, so if the initial or boundary condition changes, the solution also changes. Okay, continuously. So if it changes, means there is no direct say jump or anything, then the problem is known as a well-posed problem in CFD. Okay, this we should just remember. You don't have to memorize this definition, but just we need to know that CFD problems are governed by PDs. In many cases, PD may or may not have solutions. In certain cases, they will have solutions. They will have unique solution. Okay, means that there are single PD does not have three solutions. Then how will I know what is the temperature if I get three temperature value for a point? Okay, so a unique temperature value at each point I am obtaining, and that temperature changes with boundary and initial condition. Then I can say that the problem is well-posed problem. Okay, so with this we stop this part of the course, and in the next class we will go into discretization. Discretization, we will start with finite difference method, and then we will go to finite volume method, and rest of the course will be on finite volume method after finishing the finite difference method. Any questions? Time is also up. Please go through this material. From the next class, we will go to, from tomorrow, we will go to another topic, new topic. If there are any questions, ask me tomorrow on the previous material. Everything is uploaded. Okay. So if there are no questions, I will stop the class here.